Hi, I got myself this audio amplifier from AliExpress. There are no mounting holes, but I want to connect it to this system of mine I use, like this apparatus. So what did I do? I took some tile cross, I saw them in 4 parts, and those 4 parts I glued on the underside of the PCB. You can see it here. And then I glued a piece of that board on it. And this is my test board. You have the black one. These are gray ones, or white ones. You can see the upper half is half the length. And it's just, the upper half is just as wide, as thick as the board. So I can put my amplifier and put it. I have to do it with one hand. Moment, please. So I can easily click it on the board and it's very solid. And you just can remove it by, don't pull at the upper side because the glue is not that super strong. I use this super glue, but anyway, just move something, a screwdriver or whatever, and you can click it up and remove it that way. To connect interfaces to the board, I use this system, gluing this piece of plastic, drilling 2 holes, and use these Lego items to fix them on the board. But then, so this is a programmer that I used with this system. This is what I glued on it, but I got a new idea. Why not just gluing a simple piece of board on it, and then I can use it with those pins, but the pins cannot go far enough in it. So I placed a little piece of plastic between it, as you can see, and now it's deep enough. So now I can glue, I'll put this on these 2 pins. And now I can move it a little bit, but it's very stiff, only using 2 pins. It's not totally straight, it's a little bit at an angle, but that doesn't care. But it's a very nice solution. It takes less room on the board if I put it on this position. So here's my new connection, and it takes less place, so you can put more interface along each other. Good idea. So I also attached a new principle of connection to my serial port. Serial port 1, there's another serial port that has to be done. This is the old one, this is the new one. So the new one, you can see it only uses 2 of those pins. And these 3 pins, I just put in there. It's very handy. These are the unused connector terminals. They fit very nicely into these plastic Lego pins. So that's a very nice solution, I think. Again, here's my amplifier. And I want to put it on some board. And I want to use these 3 Wago connectors. Somewhere on the board. I don't know how, but we will find out. This is the audio input, mono. Left side 2 are the output, and the right side 2 connections is the power supply. So I first have to create myself 3 parts of those white plastic that I will glue under this Wago clamps. Therefore, I just start with a point. I take a distance of 1/2 inch, 1.12.7 millimeters. Draw me there another point, and I use this, we call it in Dutch center pons. I don't know what it is in English, I will find it out. Well, Google translates it into center punch. Then I try to make as accurate as possible to center punch a hole in it. Then I go to my drilling machine, or it's a freeze machine, I don't know how it's called, but I drill a hole of 3 millimeters because bigger drills do not fit in this machine. Then I use this veil in Dutch. In translation in Google it says it's called file. I don't know if it's correct, but I do not turn it clockwise, then it goes fast in it and will break down just counterclockwise. So it goes very slowly inside until it is about here. So this distance, again this distance until here. And then it's about 5 millimeters. So then I stop here. And with a knife I cut the rims. Keep it this long because it's handy to keep it in your hands. Now the holes are very clean, about 5 millimeters, and I will cut off this one. I will use a knife, not a knife, I use this one to cut it off. Do not saw, just use this tool. It is not very professional in that way. It's not very straight these edges, but I don't care. It's about functionality. For cutting these pieces of board, I use my Proxen. For large pieces, I use my big wood saw. I'm searching for a small wood saw, but for these small things, I use my figure saw, the jigsaw, I think it's called in English. Well, this piece of wood has a rough side and a smooth side, depending on, I think the rough side will good connect to this fine side, and this fine side I will then connect to my interface. Then I use these blue Lego pins to hold it all in place. And I will glue and then put this plastic on it. I glued it around in between, put the plastic on it. Now I will put it down so it centers to this. And now I will remove it from the underside and twist or remove this blue pin so that they don't get glued to the system. So I cut off the plastic excess with a knife, and you can see it's not quite beautiful straight, but who cares? It costs a lot of money to make it very nice, to be very precise, but as long as it's functioning, to me it's okay. So now I made this quick small interface. I put this way on. I will glue the surroundings and in the middle, and I will put on this Wago and center it out visually so it's a little bit straight this way. I replaced the connector because it was on the edge, but now I can see if it's more or less in line with the holes and symmetrically placed. I then remove the Wago clamps and clamp them in some other clamp to let the glue dry. Well, and this is the end result. Plastic between, and you can connect them with these pins. So then I prepared a simple interface, quite easy to make, and I will install this Wago clamp. With one hand is difficult, but look, it's a little bit, can it move, but it's very solid attached to it. You can throw anyway, it won't get off. I think it's a very technical hobbyist solution for this kind of things. Well, we will go on. So I made myself some arbitrary composition, put it this way, put the legs on some way. Well, this is it. Now I have to connect input output to this Wago clamps, and then I will have a new unit which I can use. Well, I think it's a mono amplifier, I'm not sure, but what else? There's only one speaker output. So I will look at the other one on the underside of the connector. There are two pins, they are not connected, only this one and this one is connected, and this one. There are only two connections. I found myself this audio cable I've never used. It's some stereo to mono converter or whatever. But I will use this. I will cut them, one of them cut off, put in here and see what happens. This one is for the earphone, this one is for the microphone. Well, I will cut off this one. Well, I cut one off. I soldered both ends. But even if I measure with my multimeter, there's no resistance to the tip. I don't understand, it's very strange material. Maybe the soldering does not really connect. There's some isolation around the wires that will burn away when we solder it, but it's not. So I'll quit this approach. I will not. The copper wire, when remeasuring, is connected to this, and the other wire, the blue one, is connected to the middle connection. So I finally soldered both ends very long, so the isolation was burned away and the solder connected to the wire. But then I had to fix it to the board. I didn't know how to do it, but I put a little copper string in here. So I fixed it with a tie wrap. The tie wrap holds it because the knob, or the thickest part sorry, of the tie wrap can go through the hole. If I do not use this copper plate, the wire will go into the hole. But anyway, it's not a nice solution. I'm convinced. I would have seen a better solution, but I think it will work. Finally, here's my assembled amplifier. Audio input, power supply 3 to 12 volt DC, audio output. You see the Wago markings I always put on the outside of the system. Well, I just grabbed me some old speaker, I put it to the output. This is the power supply. I've set it to minimum voltage of 3 volts, 100 milliamps. I don't know what happens if I switch it on. 3, 2, 1, go. There is some noise from the loudspeaker. Here's some hum, 50 Hertz. If I switch it off, on. So it looks like if the amplifier is working. Now we have to find some signal source. Well, I must admit, it looks a little bit like a mess, but this is my I2C controlled FM receiver. This is the microcontroller, STM8 S103. This is the radio chip. This is not used, this is the MP3 player, but I connected a crystal ear telephone to my left output. You hear the noise. I can put it on the smartphone. So now I will try to put this weak signal into the amplifier, see what it does. So first I checked if all ground signals from the speaker, from the power supply and from the input are on the left side, seen from this. So I had to swap these. Now this has a 0 ohm connection to this one, has a 0 ohm connection to this one. So now it looks like a little bit of a mess, but this is my FM receiver, I2C controlled, but it seems to keep its latest frequency to receive. Although it's not in the datasheet, but when power is on, it does. So I put the left wire, the left audio gray, the right is white, left audio, and the ground to the input of this amplifier. I set the amplifier to totally left. So now I will power on the amplifier. On, I hear a little buzz, and if I turn it on, do I? Oh yes! I just hardly moved the volume button, but I put it totally right. This is very, very powerful amplifier. It's only a few ticks to the right and well, very, very nice. I like this. Now we will go on with further experiments. I want to put it all together on one big board. Not separate boards, but one big board for experimenting with FM receiving, but also I would like to use an FM transmitter to transmit my own data and receive it with a programmable receiver like this. So I will also use a programmable transmitter, but that's for later. Thanks for watching.